Welcome back to World Crisis Radio, delving further now into the breakdown crisis as it unfolds. We're now headed once again into a systemic crisis, a breakdown crisis, a disintegration. It may disintegrate the euro. Doesn't have to. With my policies, you can save the euro and make it into a valuable tool. But if you insist on cutting your own throat and Schadenfreude, then everybody goes down. Everybody's in the same boat with these things. And the euro is there for a reason. It comes out of a historical evolution going back 40 years that the D-Mark alone will be driven into the ionosphere and German trade will be destroyed. So the euro is a very important means of defending the European economy against something much worse than what's going on now. Maybe when we get to the worst part, people will begin to understand what I'm talking about. Problem is, by then it'll be too late. So, who's losing today? Barclays Bank down 8%. The Raiffeisenkassen of Germany, a kind of a banking chain, they're also hit hard. Societe Generale, SocGen, down 7%. And Swiss Re, now reinsurance, this is important, right? You got Munich Re, you've got Swiss Re. Swiss Re is down 5.5%. Now, this then features the German, the collapse of the European bourses, the various stock markets across Europe. Today, Germany, the DAX is down 4%. The CAC in France down 3.5%. The FTSE in London down 2.3%. The Milan MIB is down 4%. So you get the idea. It's an ugly looking day. The Swiss franc, by contrast, is way up. It continues its role as safe haven. This is going to be bad for any real economy of exports left in Switzerland. And as I say, the Greek 2-year, the Greeks are at the other end. The Swiss are going into the ionosphere, and it will hurt them. You can ask the shop owners there in Basel, and anybody near the German border, they're priced out of the market. But the Greek 2-year is a 50% yield. The Spanish yield is 5%, but they started later. They're also under attack, of course, by credit default swaps. So that's the European picture. Now let's look at the U.S. It's actually, in some ways, it's the losses are a little bit less, but the picture is just as ugly. Let's start with Bank of America. This is now the obvious candidate to be the new Lehman Brothers. They've got fraud closures going right there, being sued because of their fraud closure practices. Bank of America is the one that's closest linked to the real estate question, to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac in particular. It's practically a triumvirate with Bank of America. Today, U.S. regulators told Bank of America essentially to prepare for bankruptcy, that they were told that they've got to prepare a contingency plan if things get really bad. Bank of America down 7% in one morning, and this is not the first day, right? This is just the most recent of many days. J.P. Morgan Chase, the custodial bank, down 4%. UBS down 3%. Citibank down 4%. Another very dubious case. Morgan Stanley down 4.5%. And the irony these days is, if Morgan Stanley's down 4.5%, Goldman Sachs is down 4.7%. The smartest guys in the room are doing worse than Morgan Stanley, who were supposedly not as good as these wonderful financial wizards at Goldman Sachs. So you can see where this is heading. This is a very bad scene. Now, the Greek interest rate, the 50%, indicates that there is no confidence in the Greek bailout. This is now this idiotic, the typical thing with bankers. We saw this. You can read about this in Surviving the Cataclysm. The fight in the U.S. was there was a special lending facility set up in 1932 with the help of Herbert Hoover. The problem was, if you really needed the money, you couldn't get it. And if you could get it, you really didn't need it. So as long as you use banking criteria, you can't do anything about stopping a banking panic. You've got to use government criteria. Yes, big government criteria are the ones that are needed, not fat-headed bankster approaches. Now, here's also the situation in terms of the real economy, what's left of it. The Obama stimulus is ending. Fine. A lot of this money was poorly spent, but it had some effect. And some of these Republican demagogues are going to find out that the stimulus did have an effect. When it's over, they'll see that things get considerably worse, even though this was poorly done. QE2 is over, so there's less support coming from Helicopter Ben about the banking system and the financial side. There's also the question of European austerity itself. When you have all these countries now, France, Italy, Britain especially, going in a genocidal austerity binge, right? Abbau-Wahn, austerity psychosis grips London, Paris, Rome, Madrid, and on and on. Well, that austerity psychosis translates then into economic slowdown, more unemployment, less demand, and even in these Keynesian terms, this doesn't work. Now, Obama has taken a real beating here, as he deserves to. This is just like Carter. Remember, Obama, the postmodern coup, the making of the Manchurian Candidate. Get it, read it. It's full of stuff about the essentially predicting the Obama administration based on what happened under Carter. Carter, you'll recall, cratered in July 1979 with the malaise speech and the firing of his cabinet. Let's see if Obama fires his entire cabinet. Then it'll be Carter Redux. So Carter Redux is, in those days it was July 79, and now it's Obama in August. And it's because of his feckless, weak, craven, cringing, propitiating behavior as a Wall Street puppet, of course. But in this case, even doing the work of Wall Street, he didn't. He cut a sorry figure. In particular, as I pointed out here, Obama fails to use executive powers of the presidency. He fails to. It's not that he's a dictator, at least in this area. He's a weakling, and the dictatorship stuff comes in the body scanners and the stuff directed against the population. But when he's dealing with finance oligarchs, he's a cringing toady. He fails to use the executive powers. Now, the obvious thing to do is to say, look, there is the 14th Amendment, Part 4. The public debt of the United States shall not be questioned when it's legally authorized. You guys authorized this expenditure. I'm telling you, I will bargain with the Congress in good faith. But when we get close to that deadline, I will invoke the 14th Amendment. I will obey the 14th Amendment. Since I have no choice, I must respect the provisions of the 14th Amendment. And that will mean I will continue Treasury auctions. The United States will not default, will not go bankrupt. Default is illegal. Default is unconstitutional. And you could impeach me for it, so I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. You try to impeach me for it and see where it gets you, and fake that. So the executive powers, he never called for the 14th Amendment. He could have said, again, I'm going to invoke this. I'm not going to invoke it at the beginning, but if it's clear that an accord cannot be reached, there is this backstop, so there will be no default, and that would have calmed down this entire thing. Standard & Poor's would not have had their excuse for attacking the United States. When we had the mass strike in Wisconsin, did Obama go? Did he give a ringing declaration of support for working people? Nothing. He skulked, he cringed, he damned with faint praise, didn't even send his Secretary of Labor, certainly didn't send his Attorney General. The Attorney General is now under heavy attack for Operation Fast and Furious, a.k.a. Operation Gun Runner, Operation Gun Walker, whatever it's called. If Holder is out, then the path to the impeachment of Obama opens up more. So let's hope Holder does, because he didn't go to Madison, Wisconsin. He lost the confidence of the people. Now, Obama is cratering. He's down 10% in August. That is a huge dip. This is similar to Carter. Carter, of course, Carter did the malaise and the firing of the cabinet in July 1979. And again, it's exactly the same point in the term where we are now, probably the first and only term in each case. And it was a 10% loss in public support in August. Now, the question, therefore, is, what can you do under these circumstances? Can you pull a rabbit out of the hat? Yes, I have a rabbit. I know what to do. I got policy bullets. I got arrows in the quiver like you wouldn't believe. Back in a couple of minutes here on World Crisis Radio.